Hello, bright listeners. This is Holland Hubert calling in from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just getting off of winter break and the cold is in the air and school is back in session. However, that doesn't stop the podcast. With that being said, I want to welcome you to Patriots NSBE Junior Chapter Podcast. Let's keep it moving on the podcast. Sponsored by Comcast, SA Tech, and the Richard Eaton Foundation. Today, we have Steve Forthuber with us. Steve Forthuber is the President and Chief Operating Officer for the Eastern Operations of RadNet. He has been President of Eastern Operations at RadNet since May 15, 2017, and has been its Chief Operating Officer of Eastern Operations since November 2006. He has worked in the healthcare field for 23 years, with 18 of those years exclusively being dedicated to radiology practice management. With that being said, I would like to welcome Steve with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Holland. Very pleased to be here.
And while I did give a brief introduction, can you please let us know your name and where you currently work?
You hit all the high notes there. It's Steve Forthuber. I work at RadNet, and we're based in Los Angeles, California, and our Eastern headquarters is here in Baltimore, Maryland, where I'm based.
Wow. And what title do you currently hold, and what does that title encompass?
My title is President and Chief Operating Officer of the East region for RadNet. And I'm obviously responsible for running all of our Eastern operations, which today are in Florida, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York. And it represents about 60% of the revenue for our company. And so I'm ultimately accountable for everything that goes on there, our financial results, our quality, our patient satisfaction, but spend most of my time with team building, strategy, direction and vision for where we're heading with the Eastern division of the company, and obviously for the overall company as well.
Wow. And so what did the roadmap look like to get into your current career position?
Well, my roadmap was somewhat accidental because I'm a business finance major out of college originally, and didn't know much about the field of radiology when I started out, but was hired by a company that did a lot of what's called practice management for radiologists. So that got me into the field, and ultimately I decided I wanted to do more than the business side and wanted to understand more about the clinical side. And that's when I became involved with RadNet many years ago. And it's been a very fulfilling career, not necessarily based the same direction that your STEM students might follow in the direction that I found it. But it's, again, a very rewarding and fulfilling career, knowing that you're helping to build and run a company that can have such a great impact on the lives of our patients and really be life-changing. So it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. And so seeing that you were a business major, is that correct? In college?
Correct. Yes.
So I guess, how did you come to find out about RadNet? I know you said it was kind of accidental. So were there people that came and kind of recruited you, or how did that whole process work?
Well, for me, again, a little different. I was in school in Virginia, and I wanted to ideally live back up in Maryland where the rest of my family was. And at that time, things are a lot different. Indeed, and all these other things didn't exist back in the day. So I was working through some placement firms and headhunters, and they originally connected me with another company, predecessor of RadNet. And I really hit it off with them, liked the people, thought it was a great opportunity for me, in my case, to get into management at a very young age. We're coming right out of school, and took the job and have loved it ever since, and was fortunate to have a lot of very influential mentors through my career as well.
That's beautiful. And can you speak a little bit about the importance of mentors?
Mentorship is vital, and I'm worried that the younger generation, if I can say that, being decidedly from an older generation, is with remote working and even a little bit of hybrid working, more so the pure remote. I worry a lot that younger folks won't get that kind of mentoring that I think you need so much when you're first coming out of school, whatever type of school and education you're getting. So I do worry that folks that are completely remote might be missing out on that. I think even if it's just learning how to conduct yourself in the workforce, But certainly for me, I was much more fortunate both to have that, but also people that were mentoring me in my chosen career path. And I just learned so much from them, even if it was just going out to lunch or going out to dinner and not when I was at work. So I think it's a very critical part and would encourage everyone to seek out mentors, ask, spend time networking, getting to know people that can help you in life and in your career. Very, very, very valuable.
Wow, that's really great advice.
Yeah.
Can you tell our future radiologists the different careers in radiology at RadNet and what radiologists do?
Yeah, there's a number of things because a radiologist is the physician. So if somebody wants to follow the program and become a radiologist, that's the toughest path that we have in the sense that not only are you going to get your undergraduate degree, you're going to go to medical school, you're going to get a residency, probably a fellowship in this day and age. So it's a long path, but it's a very rewarding path. We think maybe we're a little biased because we're in the field that imaging, radiology, what we call outpatient imaging, we think is the gateway to population health in terms of trying to treat broad populations, identify diseases early, preferably screen people early, particularly for cancers like breast cancer or prostate cancer, lung cancer. So if you can get to a large population, screen, diagnose disease early, it's much more treatable for better outcomes and quality of life, brings down the cost of care to our entire health system. So we think radiology and radiologists play a critical role in the health system. I think with the advent of artificial intelligence, the field of radiology is going to become even more meaningful. But beyond being a radiologist, if you don't want to go all that way and become a physician, there are a lot of ways to go, whether it's a technologist, someone, it's actually the technologist. If you go, you're far too young for this, but if you go to the doctor and you need to have an x-ray, it's the technologist that's actually doing your scan. Later down the road, the radiologist is the person that's going to interpret that image. And they're the ones then that will dictate a report of their findings that'll go to your referring physician so that they can continue your course of treatment. But the technologist is critical to that whole process. And that is a fabulous career path that I think most younger people really don't know about. It's a very stable career. It's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding in terms of the earnings potential, the patient interaction, again, the feeling that you're doing good for the community that you live in and that you work in. So that's a great career path. Our company actually owns 3 artificial intelligence companies doing clinical research with breast and lung and prostate cancers I mentioned earlier. So you can follow a path for a data scientist. You can get into data analytics. There's all sorts of jobs that aren't directly in the clinical side of medicine that can be pursued as well, whether it's in HR or marketing or patient-facing roles. So there's really a whole range of careers that, again, are very stable. Healthcare is not going away. It's a vital part of what we do, a huge part of our economy. So again, a stable career that's in demand, that you can have great earnings and a lot of career satisfaction, knowing that, again, you're doing good for the community.
And it's great that you're able to tell us about that too, because a lot of those careers I haven't heard of myself. So it's great to hear that.
Now, and a lot of people haven't. We want to get further into the high schools and educate folks while they're young, so they're aware that these career paths exist. I know when I was certainly coming out of high school, I had no idea. In fact, when I went to my first interview, I had no idea that this part of the industry even existed. So but it's again very vibrant, growing part of healthcare.
Wow. And so speaking about kind of the young folks in this, can you tell us a little bit about your partnership with Patriots Technology Training Center?
Well, we are thrilled to be involved with Patriot. And as I understand it, we're going to have 30 students from Prince George's County. They're going to be involved in this program, and they're going to work with a whole range of team members here at RadNet that go across that whole spectrum of some of the career paths that I just mentioned. So they'll be mentored by these folks, and they'll learn a little bit more about those career paths. And at the end of that journey, each of these 30 students will present a 5-minute presentation And that'll be a little bit of a competition among the folks, and a nice dinner at the end of it. And our hope is that they will have learned a lot, not only about that particular career path, but again, about themselves and where they may want to take their lives.
Wow. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that competition.
It should be exciting. I'm looking forward to going to the awards dinner.
It sounds exciting. Well, that was the end of the interview. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I understand that as the President and Chief Operating Officer of the Eastern Operations of RadNet, that your schedule is very busy. So I appreciate you so much for joining me today.
No problem, Holland. This is a wonderful use of my time. Very pleased that you asked me to participate.
I'm glad. And to all of our listeners out there, I hope you all enjoyed that interview. I want to thank each and every one of you for jumping on the Let's Keep It Moving on the podcast. I would also like to thank Comcast, SA Tech, and the Richard Eaton Foundation for sponsoring this podcast. If you would like to hear this podcast or share it with your friends, please go to the Patriots NSBE Junior website, www.patriots-ttc.org. Until our next show, let's keep it moving on the Patriots NSBE Junior podcast. This is Holland.
This is Steve.
Signing off.